right, we got, excuse me, we got Barry, Julie, and Chris on the game. All the way, Julie. All the way. Out the side. There you go. Those are always the most awkward ones, is where do you go after tossing the ball? In essence, always follow whoever the new lead is going to be. So just follow him and walk on, get on top of that whole thing. Julie, as we have a press in the backcourt, the new trail, if the ball's on the other side of the floor, you need to kind of at least get up at least into the middle the middle third of the floor. And as the ball rotates around, you just need to position adjust. You're looking basically all the way across the floor. All right, Barry, this is real minor. This is kind of an advanced technique, but when we're initially marking a three, whether your CT doesn't make a difference, right? You always use your top side hand, the hand that's nearest the division line. There's a lot of reasoning for this, and this could apply to all three of you if you don't know this yet. It takes some practice, but in essence, what you want to do is you want to use your top side hand for a couple different reasons, and this is part of the reasoning why we do these things. The reasoning is that first thing is your partner that is across the floor from you, whether it's the other C or T, they can easily see your top side hand compared to your bottom side hand, we'll call it. All right, the second reasoning is there's all kinds of stats going on in the game, and using that top side hand is going to help that statistician or set of statisticians see that three being marked. I like where you position your hand and everything. Just use the correct hand, and it's going to take a lot of practice to do that. Work on the bigger things first. That you can call down the priority list. It's minor, but it will help you be known as not only a good official, but then an excellent official. All right, Chris, you just had a and one. I'd like you to work on your count the basket signal on the primary spot. So you called your foul right, and I think you came down to like a whoosh kind of signal. What I would like to see you do is just go straight up the shoulder and show a 2 points. It's very strong, it's very confident, and I mean, we're not here to add the extra flavor to it. They all feel, they all know that and one is happening and whatever. It's very subtle, and we don't need to draw extra attention to ourselves. It's kind of one of the things you see on the news where you got the older officials doing that because it's a bad habit. So something to think about, work on, just right up the shoulder and just show a 2. All right, Barry, I know this is an extension, or this is not exactly a varsity game, so to speak, on a normal, winter night. But we always call camps as an extension of our regular season. So I'll throw 2 things at you, all right? First thing is we never wear jewelry, right? We only can get away with a wedding ring, okay? So the watch has to go. That's the first thing. And the second thing is we never, ever, ever wear a belt, right? So if you got to get the most proper fitting shorts or pants, I know we're wearing shorts in this tournament, great. I don't mind that, right? Because this is a little different setting. But pants, shorts doesn't make a difference. Get the proper fitting ones so they stay up and whatever. And mind you, if you lose the belt, then what's left is the belt loops. If you don't have proper pants that have no belt loops, get pants that have no belt loops. This is very important. You can easily pick out a quality official versus a less than quality official based on if they're wearing a belt or even wearing a watch for that matter. And I'm not saying you're not quality, but the perception of when we walk on the floor is we need to look the part and follow by our own stripes bylaws, so to speak. And that's one of those. So if coach sees that, he's like, oh, he's probably not going to be very good. Even though you might be, right? Or you are. The perception is he or she has already cashed it in as that official's not going to be good. Right? And I know this isn't college, but we'll even throw like, I had to actually intentionally take my wedding ring off for our college games, whether it's this camp or whether it's at a regular college game, because we can't even wear a wedding ring in that venue or that setting. So again, follow the rules and, take it as you wish. My bad. All right, Julie. What I'd like you to do is get in the practice of, in the beginning of the game, if you have eyes on a clock, which on this particular court we have 2 clocks, which is great. And what I would like you to do is practice, or as the ball's coming up the floor, time yourself against the clock with your hand count, right? And we're counting. Time yourself with your counts to see how close you are with the clock, right? You can count maybe without looking first, and then try it with the clock, and you're going to realize that your count is actually probably a 20-second count overall, right? This is just what I took it as, but it seems very slow. Now, if you put it against the clock, you realize, holy crap, my count is way slow. The important thing is I've actually walked on the floors, like during regionals or something, high school, and the coach goes, oh good, we have this crew because you guys can know how to count the 10 seconds properly, because they do a lot of pressing, and that's important to them as their defense, right? They intentionally try to press and try to get that 10-second count, and they don't get that 10-second count in a lot of crews because the counts are slow. We try to get it 10 to 12 seconds is a really good range, acceptable range. If you can get to the clock and get it around 12 seconds-ish or under, in between there, perfect, right? We don't want to be like super fast, so we got to make sure we time appropriately. Unfortunately, in that particular game, that team ended up having a 5-second count while they were inbounding the ball. So that actually kind of went against them in that scenario, but it is what it is. Excellent 3-point mark right there. That was perfect. The high school signal, and it was the correct hand, right? Top side to the division line. That was perfect. That helps separate the good official from the excellent official, right? So we always work on those little tiny things. Maybe you just happened to get the right hand, or maybe you knew that. All right, Barry, let's talk about, this could be for the whole crew, for that matter, right? And we can pay attention to the rest of the game based on this, but let's talk about lead rotation and pace, or I guess moments when the leads should be rotating. If the ball is opposite, you should at least be pinched into the lane. If not, I'm talking like pinched, like a solid step into the lane, if not already going, depending on where the ball is, of course. If that ball finds its way over where I'm standing right here, as I'm on this wing here on the O, that you should already be rotating as a lead, right? So if we start balancing ourselves, or start refocusing, I should say, and trying to say, hey, I need to be here when the ball starts moving. And when the ball goes wide, I need to position myself a little wider. What you're going to find is yourself is in a lot more credible calls and accurate calls. And the coaches and the fans are going to notice that, and they're like, holy crap, that guy or that gal is moving when they need to move, and they are busting their butt to get there. Chris did his perfect job right there, rotating when he needed to rotate. That was great. So something to work on, something to pay attention to as you're in a game, or observing a game for that matter, right? We don't just go to a game and watch the players play ball. As officials, we always go to a game and watch an official officiate the game. Okay. Barry, same thing I kind of mentioned to Julie. As the ball, if you're at pressure in the backcourt, the ball's on this side and you're over there, come in and get into the middle third of the floor if the ball's on this third of the floor, right? It's too far away from you. Close up that distance, and you're going to have more accurate and more credible calls. Chris, I think I like the pace of your count, your 10-second count. Again, this goes for anybody. I do it from time to time, or even for a while I did it religiously, is count with the clock, and if you can keep eyes on the clock and count around the same pace, then you set your frame for the rest of the game. And then when you don't have eyes on the clock, you typically are just counting pretty close to that clock speed. Real minor on that out of bounds here, Chris. Chris, I'd like to see your left hand come up and then point. It's all one hand then. So crew, what I mean by that is, if you pay attention to the film, he went up with his right hand, brought it down, and then pointed with his left hand. From a real professional perspective, you come up with your left hand, and then you can point with that same hand. It looks, otherwise what they call this is traffic cop, right? I'm doing all my hand gestures all over the place, and they call it traffic cop. All right, see, that's a perfect example, Chris. I would have rather had you rotate over there as soon as that ball even got below the free throw line. Absolute, you need to get your butt over there. That's probably the 99% rule. Obviously, we have the 1% of the exception is, they're running some kind of weird zone offense or whatever. They're zipping it around the outside. We get that, right? But most of the time we're running a standard, setting screens, a front court type offense, then, free throw line extended and below, you should already be going and should probably might already be there. So we're ready to receive the dump down into the lane. And then if we're outer officials, a C or T, we can also abide by those same rules and think, oh my God, the ball's getting right in that area where I would expect my lead to be going. You can kind of use that as your mental guide to be, I should probably be rotating from C to T or vice versa. Tell you a good trick I also do if I'm a C or T on that particular matter is I'm thinking, okay, lead, you're going to rotate, he should be rotating or she should be rotating or they are rotating. And, just talking to myself ever so lightly, even verbally, helps keep my focus on that particular aspect of the game. Good communication, all really good communication there on that foul. Julie comes out, reports. We wait till she turns around and shows two, and then lead and center now show two as well. That's perfect. I'll tell you what, it looks extremely professional when trail initiates the one shot or the two shots as they turn around after they get done reporting, and then lead and center then mirror that approximately the same time. It looks really, really well run and helps show a lot of crewness on the floor. And again, that's what we're trying to strive for, is that crewness, that one unit thing. If we see a bunch of variety of things, well, then they're like, oh, they're not on the same page. All right, Julie, on that kind of steal that happened down here, once the ball's supposed to be going the other way, you can go ahead and position adjust. You're already now a trail. Go ahead and position adjust. If this is highly contested, get your butt there and show your presence, and hopefully nothing happens. But if something does happen, you're right there. You could be able to handle that and call that right away if needed. Chris, as a trail, I'd like to see you just down towards the 28-foot line a little further. We don't want to float up too high because now we're showing to the crew or to the crowd or to the coaches that I'm out of this play, right? And we're never out because we can have an offensive rebound. We can have a wide variety of things. So stay down. I try to go for 28 to, let's call it 28, 30-foot area. And once in a while, I'll check myself against that 28-foot line on the floor and say, where am I standing? All right, that just happened. We're going to have antennas up, right? We're going to take note of the two numbers that just happened, or whichever guys they were, and you're going to say, okay, those guys seem to be, they might be going after each other here shortly. So now we can start inserting ourselves with our voice a little bit and saying, we're going to watch these two. Start the clock. There we go. All right, we missed the starting of the clock. Whose whistle is that? Right? Opposite table, whether it's C or T, it's always opposite table. And then I saw you do this down there, and you were C.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not your clock, right? I don't know if I need this. What I want you to be doing is trail, or whoever has the clock says, I have it, okay? And then if I don't have it, I'm pointing at who has it, right? You have clock. Maybe you didn't even notice that there was a clock.
I pointed out. I know it is. I don't know if you guys
But
noticed.
sometimes we mentally lose focus of that. And if I point at you, you're like, holy crap. Oh, shoot, I got caught, right? And I might not have been paying attention for the last 30 seconds. It happens. Everybody does it. But then if I go, you have clock, I don't have to yell it, but just a point you. We use that as our signal. Then I got it. Right? So that helps, right? What I would like to ask you guys is, what flow do we have in here, or don't we have? Is there anything that you took note of in that first?
It's up tempo. Yeah, they're pushing it.
Absolutely sure.
There really isn't a play. They just come down and shoot threes and.
I mean, they're passing the ball.
What I'd like for all three of you to do this half is just work on lead rotating more. Right? The ball starts coming here and it starts coming this way. If it gets outside that line, I as a lead on there should already be pinching up on the lane. Okay? Or even a step in the lane. Of course, this is obviously play dependent. And then if it starts getting to the wing, I'm now a step is probably starting to go, and it starts getting to that free throw line extended. I started to do that, right? And then now, if I'm on one of the top side officials, I should be expecting that rotation to happen as well. So your rotations were, we'll call it needs improvement. I'm not going to put a number on it like a percentage, but it needs improvement. It's all three of you. If you start thinking, I should be rotating, then you start doing that rotation. And we're going to have a lot more higher accuracy calls and higher cutoffs. Make sense? All right, let her rip. Okay, Julie, you administered the ball. I wasn't watching you to find out if you did this correctly or not, right? But after we start the new half or start the new quarter or whatever we're doing, right, we have the AP throw in. The very first thing you look at after it's thrown in is, first of all, did the clock start properly? Okay, that's your first glance. Look up, clock start. Okay, cool. It's running. It's at 17:59. Great. And the second look is table are they gonna flip that arrow? I don't give a crap if they put it on the board, but the table is where we're always looking anyways. Right? That's your second look. And if they don't, then every once in a while you catch an eye over there and maybe they will reset it. And finally, if they don't, then you have to yell. So, kind of a mental note for all three, check the clock, did the arrow flip. Okay, let's talk about this. Okay, this is what I'm seeing here is which side are we going on? So Barry, just take your time, point out and say, right here is where I'm taking it out, or you guys should be taking it out, right? Because Chris just looked and he's like, well, which side am I taking it out on? Because when you walked away, you actually pointed at this side and you walked all the way over and you pointed at that side, and it was confusing, right? And the players didn't know, and your partners didn't know. The second part is, okay, you got it to the reporting area. If you went way too deep, we'll call it deep in the reporting area, meaning you walked all the way through it, almost all the way up to the table. Okay, we don't need to get ourselves up to the table for a couple reasons. First thing is, if I get that close to the table, I might as well write it into the book myself, right? So we just get ourselves up into the center area of the floor, where if you look in the book to see what it actually says for reporting area. But in essence, you get out in the middle of the floor and clear from players, right? Clear line of sight to the table. Second reason is if I walk that close to the table, I've now put myself in the lion's den to receive feedback from the coach, or coaches, or players, or fans, right? We don't want to get ourselves into that lion's den. We want to keep ourselves way out of there, right? So you just kind of come out into the middle of the floor, report, find your spot on the floor after that. Very simple. And probably, I would say probably the last part of that is why walk so much? Or run or jog or whatever you're doing, right? Why put in all those extra steps? All right, good. We have a timeout. We had a squabble going on. Again, our ears are up. Okay, I'm assuming right now, I'm not going to inject myself. Assuming right now we're talking about is, hey, we've got some possible unsportsmanlike extracurriculars going on. Let's take note of numbers. Let's use our voices. Let's square stuff away. Chris, and this could go for anybody in the crew. Again, I don't know who does it, who doesn't do it, but this is a perfect example here. We have a timeout. We never set the ball down and walk away from it for two reasons. Well, probably more reasons, but somebody could steal it, or it could get kicked away or something. It could disappear on us. Second part is, what if somebody walks by and slips on it or trips on it and ultimately hurts themselves? You are now liable for them to sue you because of negligence of keeping the ball safe. Okay, so what we do is Chris remains holding the ball where the ball's going to go out. He can take a step onto the floor, 2 steps on the floor, he or she. And then if we need to talk, my two partners, if I'm the person there, my two partners are going to walk all the way over to me, wherever it may be. It could be sideline, it could be end line, it could be end line corner. I don't care. My partners are going to come to me, and they're going to talk, or to whomever, right, and talk to that person at that spot. Because the coaches need to know where the ball is going out, and if I'm standing there with the ball, that's where the ball is going out. So a lot of nice little pieces to unpack there. All right, I'll say this to the group. I'm going to try to focus on positives now instead of, we'll call it constructive feedback. We'll focus on a couple positives here. All right, good rotation, Julie. Good rotation, Chris. Good rotation, Barry. Good three-point mark, Chris. Perfect, top side hand, right? The hand that's closest to the division line, great. Okay, that was very good. Okay. So if the basket's good, then we do not have an offensive. We have a neutral foul, we'll call it. All right, let's talk it over. Perfect. Talk it over. Remember, while we're talking it over, we need to have eyes on the players. All right, so we'll talk about that, because this is actually a really good example. This is a rebounding foul after the ball has been released. remember from a rule book term or perspective, team control does not exist when a shot is released. So if we have a rebounding foul or some other foul that make a difference, then it's not an offensive foul. It is a common foul. Great crewmanship, Julie. Great crewmanship there. Good communication. Okay, so let's go back to that play that Chris had. Okay, so we have a shot going up. Now we have no team control. So if we have a rebounding foul on white or black, it doesn't make a difference. We'll have the basket be made, and we could be shooting free throws, right? Because the basket counts. Then we could be shooting bonus free throws. And they could be shooting for black or white, right? Based on who's on bonus. If we have an actual offensive foul, then that means the ball has not been released, and the shot will be nullified. And I don't care where they shot the ball from. Then we are not shooting any free throws. The basket does not count, and etc. Right? So helping clear up that signal and that communication on the floor will clear up a lot of the confusion, right? You come out and say, 2-point basket's good, or 3-point basket's good. I have a foul on black. It's going to be white ball, end line, or we're shooting free throws, or whatever the result is, right? It's a rebounding foul after the ball has been released, so yeah. That was actually a really good play to break down. Good signals between T and C there. Perfect. All right, scope of the game right now is we have a 6-point game. Fouls are also 4-0, and we have about 10 minutes left. They're playing pretty closely together in regard to score and playability. We've got a 4-point game, so we're kind of getting a point run here. It looks like black is going to go into a stall. They're the team that's up right now. They're going to go into a stall. So now we need to adjust our possible rotations based on the offense that's selected or the defense that's selected, and adjust accordingly where needed. Let's talk about that drive that just happened. Nothing really resulted from the drive. Nothing spectacular, right? Okay, the player drove in. Chris, that drive came. That drive came from your primary towards the lane. Whether there's contact or not, I don't care. What I'd like to see you do is take a step towards that drive. And it could be a step to the side, one side or the other, 2 steps maybe if needed, to get an angle to see was there contact in there, or illegal contact, we'll say. It might be legal or incidental, but it might be illegal, or maybe there's no contact. But having that extra step or 2 also shows I'm engaged on this play. In essence, the way to think about it is I have a string attached from their hips to my hips. It's my play. So if there's let's call it a block charge play at the corner of that lane, that is my call because I've shown my partners with that step or 2 that is my call initially, and I'm going to take it, right? And everybody else should have secondary time whistles. Right? It's subtle, but it's very strong and powerful. It takes a lot of practice as well, so something to think about, something to try. I tell you what, it does take practice. Right, teams are still scrapping, they're still working hard. We need to make sure we inject ourselves if needed and stay present in the picture. Is that what you guys are talking about? They're getting after each other?
Yeah, after we blow the whistle, there's extracurricular going on.
Exactly.
So,
Use yourself and inject yourself into play if needed. Bring your voice to the table, bring your whistle to the table, even just your presence to the table, and they'll hopefully clear that crap off. If you need to, say, knock it off. No extracurricular. Stop at the whistle. Whatever it is that you do. And that will clear a lot of that up. 90% of that will disappear. Perfect. Good talk. All right, you're going to hear this on the tape.
what's that?
You're going to hear this on the tape. But when we have a timeout, we never set the ball here and walk away from it. We hold the ball where the ball's going to be taken out. If we need to talk, I will stand here and say, you come to me. Right? And they come to wherever I am. Otherwise, the bad things that happen when the ball is left away.
Okay.
Otherwise, the coach can be saying, where's the ball going out? They can't see the ball. So if I'm holding it, they know exactly where it is. We got full court pressure, light full court pressure. Good coverage. Nothing happened. We have an 8-point game with 7 minutes left. Black is still up. White's working hard. So where we start dialing it in, figuring out what's happened during the game, what hasn't happened yet, how they're going to adjust to try to catch up, how they're going to try to adjust to defend their lead. All right, Barry, yep. Good communication, Chris. Those happen, right? You accidentally find your way into the spot you shouldn't be. Fine.
They're man. One motion.
You learn and you move on. All right, Chris, let's talk a little bit about this. Again, a lot of this could be for anybody. This is feedback is feedback. Take it as you wish. As a trail, and I have a dribbler with the ball, or maybe they just caught the ball and they're in front of me, and I've got a defender in front of them. And if I can see, if I'm squared up to the number on their back, then I'm straight lined. I'm automatically in the wrong position by default. It means is we need to position adjust. So that means I'm going to, if I need to take 2 steps down or 2 steps in or 2 steps out or whatever, typically it's going to be down because that gives you the best angle, but you know, it could be anything. And you adjust to where you can see the gap between the players, because God forbid the player slaps in there and you can't see if, you know, he hit his arms or whatever, right? We need to be able to put ourselves in a position to make that call if needed. Rotate, there you go. Perfect. Julie, if that ball is in the spot where it was, I would rotate faster. Not saying run, I'm not saying skip across the lane or shuffle or whatever. Some people, I mean, we all do bad things, but what I would say is a brisk walk across the lane. If it's the ball's a little higher and you want to take your time, great. If it's not really contested and I don't need to rush my spot there, great. But if that ball is contested or I need to be there, then get there. Comes with a lot of practice trying to find the right speed to briskly walk across the lane. All right, 12-point game now. Gravel, perfect. Good call, Chris. And by all means, our TNRC can absolutely help out on those because, again, the leads are always typically looking from waist up. You can obviously see the feet from time to time, but we kind of hope for our trail and centers, our topside officials, to help out on those a lot. Great, leads can get them. If they see it, great, get it. That was a good call. All right, there's a good example. We've got 2 arms up, 2 primary timed whistles, know where the primary coverage area is, whose primary coverage area it is. If we by chance do have 2 whistles on it, shoot, shame on me, or shoot, shame on you. And then we defer to the person who has primary coverage area, right? So in that case, Barry took the play. But again, I've done double whistles. We've had triple whistles, right? But what we need to do is if I got a whistle and somebody else has got a whistle, and it's in my primary coverage area, or it could even be based on accuracy of the call or credibility. I'm going to say, I got it. I'm taking it. I'm coming out and taking it home. Shows a really strong sense or whatnot out there. Second part is, I would say, okay, crap, we got 2 primary timed whistles. Why do we have 2 primary timed whistles? That means somebody was ball watching and they went a little far where they didn't need to go. Again, that is a practice that takes a lot of practice, is using the secondary time whistles. We're gonna come out, I'm gonna start thinking in my area, oh, now it's not in my area, so if I see a foul and it is not called, I should be able to think to myself, that's a foul. And if that amount of time that if I think that's a foul, then I could put a whistle on it and come out and then take it, right? Because then now I've waited a second or a second and a half. Now I put my whistle on it and come get it. Again, that takes a lot of practice. It takes, I am absolutely still working on that. All right, we're at a 9-point game, 2 minutes-ish left, 2.5 minutes left. Fouls are at 5 of 5. Black is now up 11. All right, I'm going to give you guys the whole bag of tricks on this game. I'm going to talk about pre-pass position adjustment. It's a mouthful to think of, but we just had something where it kind of made me think of it, right? Julie, you were standing right here as center, right? And I had the lead hadn't gotten rotated yet. Great. We'll work on that. But the ball has now been received right in front of me, and then I may need to adjust afterwards. Pre-pass position adjustment means I'm already thinking about that pass being received directly in front of me. I'm already pre-adjusting so that when the defender comes in and slaps, I'm not a second late or a step out of place or 2 steps out of place. Right? I've already taken 1 step in the correct direction, so I've seen into that gap between offense player and defensive player. I had that driven into my head a handful of years ago. I hadn't even thought of the concept. And one of my partners was like, pre-pass position adjustment, pre-pass position adjustment, pre-pass position adjustment, and just kept saying it and kept driving and start thinking that way, your brain automatically starts doing that, and you continually do it as a good habit. It's really good communication with the table. I like you stopped for them to be able to read your hands, listen to your voice, read your mouth, right? They do all those things. Your hit signal was okay, right? I get lazy with it too. Crack it off, right? And show a nice crisper signal. It shows more strength that I have an accurate or I'm very confident in my call thing. So something to work on. All right, Chris, as you watch this film, you're going to realize that we just talked about the and one. This is now your third and one, and I haven't talked to you physically about how we're doing the and one signal. But now, as you listen to this film and you see the first one, and you think, okay, I now see what I did, and then you see the second one, and now you see the third one, you're going to be like, yep, I now see exactly what I'm doing. I know how to adjust it. Just bam, right up shoulder, count it, whatever you use right at the spot. And I actually like to come up with my foul hand, right? I come up with my foul hand. If it's right hand, I send it up with right up with that same hand. Left hand, bam, like that. Sometimes you can come up and then come back with the other hand and count it. It looks a little pizzazzy. There's nothing wrong with that. It shows comfort and strength. So. All right, we got the game winding down. Yep, kill the game. 40 seconds left. No point in finishing out. Perfect.